This video is proof that you can make $100 billion while working a 9 to 5. The person I'm about to talk about today is someone who, if he hadn't taken the risk to join a small software company in 1980, Microsoft would not have closed its biggest day. The Xbox would not exist, and maybe Bill Gates would not even be as rich as he is now. I'm talking about none other than Steve Ballmer. How did he build his multi-billion-dollar empire without starting a company or inventing anything? Let's figure out and learn from him. The most inspiring thing I find about Steve Ballmer is that he did not build a company from scratch. He did not throw money at the next big thing and hope for the best. Instead, he climbed the corporate ladder, and somehow that made him one of the richest people on the planet. So where did he come from? Steve was born on March 24, 1956 in Detroit, Michigan. His father was a manager at Ford, and his family had Swiss roots. So safe to say he did not grow up struggling, but he was not handed success either. He worked for it. From a young age, Steve had brains and drive. He went to Detroit Country Day School, which is an elite prep school, and he crushed it there. Steve graduated valedictorian, basically the smartest kid in his class. Not only that, he scored a perfect 800 on the math section of the SAT. So yes, he was that kid. Naturally, he got into Harvard in 1973. There, he studied applied mathematics and economics because apparently one hard subject was not enough. But he was not just buried in books. He managed the Harvard Crimson football team and even wrote for the school newspaper. Now, this is where this story gets interesting. While at Harvard, he met a guy named Bill Gates. Yes, you are thinking about the right guy. At the time, Gates was just some college kid about to drop out to start a company called Microsoft. He even asked Ballmer to drop out and join him, but Ballmer did not go with him. Well, at least at first. Harvard. He worked at Procter & Gamble as a product manager. It was a solid job, but it was not groundbreaking. Then, he went to Stanford Business School, and that is when everything changed. The beginning of his Microsoft career in 1980, Steve Ballmer made a choice that completely changed his future. He walked away from Stanford Business School to join a small but fast-growing company called Microsoft. This was a big deal. Ballmer had played it safe his whole life. He was top of his class, had a Harvard degree, and a secure job at Procter & Gamble. But now, he was taking a huge risk. His parents didn't get it. His dad literally asked, "What is software?" His mom could not understand why anyone would ever need a computer. But Ballmer saw something, or maybe Bill Gates just could not stop convincing him. At first, his role was not so big. He was Microsoft's first business manager, but mostly meant hiring people, running operations, and even helping with random office tasks. But in 1980, Microsoft had a huge meeting with IBM. Ballmer went along, not for his business case, but because he was the only one who owned a suit. Turns out, he was great at negotiations. Microsoft got a non-exclusive deal for MS-DOS, which meant they could sell it to other companies. That one contract turned Microsoft into a tech empire. Ballmer quickly became an important part of the company. He started moving up the ranks. By 1992, he was VP of Sales and Support, leading Windows and Microsoft Office. By 1998, he became president. Then, in 2000, Bill Gates stepped down as CEO, and just like that, Ballmer, the guy who almost stayed in business school, was now running one of the biggest companies in the world. When Steve Ballmer took over as Microsoft CEO in 2000, the company was at its peak, but just 2 months later, the dot-com bubble burst and Microsoft stock crashed by 63%. It was not exactly the smoothest start for Steve, but Ballmer was not the type of panic. He rolled up his sleeves and focused on growing the business. And yes, he did it. Under his leadership, Microsoft expanded beyond just Windows and Office. One of his biggest bets was the Xbox, which many inside the company didn't even want. They thought Microsoft had no business making a gaming console. But Ballmer did not back down. Xbox launched in 2001, and today it is a multi-billion-dollar brand. Then came Windows XP, which was such a hit that people clung to it long after Microsoft wanted them to move on. He also oversaw the launch of Azure in 2010, which is Microsoft's cloud computing service. At the time, it was not the giant it is now, but today it makes over $60 billion a year. Financially, Microsoft was thriving. Revenue nearly tripled, jumping from $25 billion to $70 billion. Profits more than doubled from $9.4 billion to $22 billion. But despite all that success, the stock did not move much. It was not Ballmer's fault. Of course, two major market crashes happened under his watch, but investors were not patient. By 2014, Ballmer stepped down as CEO, leaving Microsoft in a strong position. He decided to leave after years of pressure from investors who wanted faster innovation and better stock performance. But ironically, Microsoft's stock soared after he left. This happened due to the company's shift toward cloud computing under new leadership. Ballmer's shares skyrocketed, which made him one of the richest people in the world. Ballmer's second act stepped down as Microsoft CEO in 2014 did not mean Ballmer was done making money. In fact, his biggest financial growth happened after he left. Right after leaving, he made the bold decision. He bought the LA Clippers for $2 billion. At the time, many thought he overpaid since the previous owner had to sell after a scandal. But Ballmer saw the potential in them. NBA team's value exploded over the years, and now the Clippers are worth over $4 billion. This means he has doubled his investment in just a decade, but his biggest source of wealth remained Microsoft. He did sell some of the shares over the years, but still kept a massive stake. And when Microsoft fully embraced cloud computing with services like Azure, the company's stock price soared like no one imagined. By the time he left in 2014, Microsoft was worth around $315 billion. Under the new CEO, the company's market value kept climbing. It eventually crossed $2.5 trillion. This means Ballmer shares increased in value, which made him the largest individual shareholder of Microsoft, even more than Bill Gates himself at that time. Today, Steve is worth over $100 billion, and the inspiring thing is that he is still making more. It is because he's not sitting back enjoying his billions. Instead, he's putting his money to work. He is out here funding massive projects, pushing for government transparency with his platform USA Facts, and of course, running the LA Clippers like it is the next big startup. The guy is still all in energy, all in. Think about it. He started as just another employee. He had no startup, no investment, no lucky breaks. He climbed the ranks, made smart decisions, and stuck with it. And now, he is one of the richest people alive. If that doesn't make you rethink what's possible, I don't know what will. So, if you're looking for ways to make extra money online, check out my Stand Store link. The link is in the description below. I am willing to help if you want to. So let's go. And you're welcome.